My wedding anniversary just passed. EX is thinking about introducing kids to AP. My wedding anniversary was a few days ago, so I went for a bike ride to distract myself. I didn't reach out. Instead, I went about my business as usual. My ex-wife had a number of relationships with coworkers. One man in particular lingered app, and he ended up cheating on his 8-year girlfriend. His kid works at the same workplace as them, and my ex-wife slept with his son before dating the father. She appears to have forgotten whatever happened. I'm not sure what movie she's living in or how the relationships between these guys are progressing. I'm not sure whether the father is aware, but the son is. My ex-wife visits AP home, his kid stays with him, and dresses in very exposing attire with plenty of space for wardrobe malfunctions. As you can understand, I'm dissatisfied with the scenario and have no idea what my ex is thinking. I'm not like that anymore. I'm not sleeping around and just seeing AP because his ex moved out, she said. As I was alluding to his ex-partner departing, I replied, "Congratulations on being exclusive after knowingly participating in a cheating scenario and battering another person into the ground." Aside, after a year of this, I notified AP ex-partner about the adultery, and she ultimately left after another 8 months. Are you able to keep up? Is this all making sense? My ex-wife has had zero remorse and has bounced from relationship to relationship, cheated on everyone, and was also a mistress to all the men she cheated on, meaning everyone she was with had a partner, but she was also cheating on them. Basically, cheaters cheating on each other. A genuine home destroyer. Anyway, she is preparing to introduce my children to AP since they are now exclusive. I'm not sure what she expects to gain from this considering they're all plainly dysfunctional. What type of role models is she exposing my children to? I'm sure this won't last, as relationships with coworkers, particularly cheats, manipulators, and abusers, usually end horribly. There isn't much you can do legally, and obtaining child custody is very hard unless there is criminal activity going on. Story 2. Revenge on Ex-Girlfriend, Karmic Edition. First and foremost, I was born in India. When I was 10, my father took a job in a little rural town in Australia. It was a disaster. I was short, chubby, brown, spoke with an accent, and had little understanding of the culture. At school, I was tormented by a gang of racist jerks, and life was miserable. Fortunately, I maintained my marks and received a scholarship to study science at a large university in a major city. During my first day of university tutorials, I observed a timid, awkward-looking obese Indian girl sitting by herself. Her name was Rani, and she was also from a little town. She just recently moved up here with her second cousins. We instantly became friends over how awful high school was and how wonderful it was to live in a cosmopolitan city. We discovered that we had many interests and joined the same societies/clubs at our institution: video games, board games, Indian cultural clubs, ballroom, dancing, etc. I asked her out after about a month. She was the first female I had asked out, and she said yes. We dated in private and became each other's first loves, kiss, love, relationship, partner, etc. She moved into my flat after a year of covert dating. Life was wonderful. We never argued, had no difficulties, had similar interests and friends, were continuously attracted to one another, had every day and so on. It was ideal, simply two lovebirds starting a life together. Problem. After secretly dating for 2 years, we decided to meet one another's families. My parents are Orthodox Muslims, yet they were aware that I would be dating. They were just relieved that I had picked an Indian girl with whom they could identify. Her parents were originally gruff and aggressive. When they met me, though, they fell in love with me right away. The only issue was that they wanted us to marry. Rani and I had previously discussed it. We both wanted to go to medical school after finishing our bachelor's degrees. We both want a family and a white picket fence, but we agreed to postpone our plans until after medical school. However, after meeting her parents and after some soul-searching, I decided to expedite the plan. My aim was to propose to her once we earned our bachelor's degrees in 2 years. We'd be married over the 5-month vacation following university, do some traveling, have a honeymoon, and then start medical school as husband and wife. Meanwhile, I resolved to lose all of my extra weight and become the gorgeous groom she deserved. Both she and I were overweight, and we never had any problems with our weight or attractiveness to each other, and I didn't mind if she stayed that way for the rest of our lives. I just wanted to better myself and become the gorgeous guy she deserves to. And strange, with 8 months to go, I had a feeling something was wrong. At first, I assumed it was the stress of med school admission tests, schoolwork, and so on. I opened her laptop 2 weeks into the cold to check up this leasing agreement stuff about our apartment. I saw a weird message from this person on Messenger. Ranny had a buddy who resembled and behaved like the stupid fat brother from Earl Is My Name. He was completely socially incompetent, obnoxious, and completely uncultured/ignorant. He was quite obese and had terrible bowel movements all of the time. He was in the same board game/video game/anime group as us. Ranny had been complaining to Earlbro about our relationship for the previous year or so, according to her Skype communications. Earlbro had declared his feelings for her a few times, but Ranny had always turned him down. Ranny and Earlbro must have cheated 2 weeks ago. Earlbro wanted Ranny to end our relationship, but Ranny said it was all a mistake and that she should be with. Ranny was initially supportive of my weight reduction efforts. She appreciated the new me and the amount of energy and confidence I had. I had reduced 30 kgs and reached my optimum body weight after a year. I began lifting weights and gaining muscular bulk. Ranny began to feel increasingly uneasy about herself. I would tell her that I had no problems with her weight, but we began to argue more often. She was irritated by the fact that I always cooked my meals and didn't dine out with her as much, that I spent all this time at the gym, that I was too gorgeous for her, and so on. I would constantly convince her that this was not the case, but things continued to deteriorate. With 1 year to go, I informed Ranny's father of my plans. I requested for his permission to marry Ranny on the condition that we marry after graduation, so that we wouldn't have to worry about a wedding while applying to medical school. He answered yes, and he was overjoyed. Ranny began behaving strangely chill. Stopped talking about it. So when I saw red, I instantly packed my. I printed out the messages. I informed my landlord that I will not renew my lease. I texted Ranny to let her know that I was aware of the situation and that we had reached an agreement. I hurriedly relocated most of my belongings. I don't have much. Most of our belongings were Ranny's, to a friend's home, and asked my pals to protect me from Ranny. Ranny, on the other hand, was enraged. She supposedly fled home when she saw my belongings were missing. She went to a mutual friend's home and began crying her eyes out. She attempted to contact me, but my buddies removed all of her texts, etc. Earlbro was apparently a drunken mistake. She never meant to harm me. She cheated because she felt I was becoming fit, so that I could find a better partner and upgrade from her. WTF. Could I please see her for another chance/closure? Blah blah. I made the decision that I would never speak to her again, something which I have successfully achieved. Revenge 1. A day after abandoning Ranny, Ranny's father began blowing up my phone. He was adamant that I explain why I destroyed her heart. Her 2 elder brothers also phoned and threatened her. I did not return their voicemails. Instead, I wrote a mass email to Ranny and my parents. In the email, I wrote a heartfelt message about how I had envisioned Ranny and I getting married, but she had cheated. I copied screenshots of her message, and how I apologized for causing a commotion and diminishing our family status. Indians place a high value on family status, but that I needed my space to focus on getting into med school. Within an hour of writing the email, Ranny's father called. He apologized profusely. He apologized and said that his daughter had made a mistake. He claimed he'd drive up to my house and urge me to take Ranny back, and he'd pay me money. WTF. I accepted his apologies, but told him I didn't want to speak with her or her family again and wished them the best. Ranny's family went out to our city a week later. They drove Ranny back to their little village and removed her from her classes. She did not graduate on time and was thus unable to apply to medical school. She returned a year later to finish her course but failed. She ended up living at home for a year while jobless before taking a retail job. She gained a lot of weight and now resembles a bleeding globe. Her dishonesty became known in the Indian society, and her family was outraged. Ranny is now very sad, and her family blames her for undermining their standing in the Indian society. Revenge number 2. I went to medical school in another state. A number of Indian parents contacted me about tutoring their children. Amina, one of the students I mentored, blew me away. She was studying science and aspired to be a doctor. She was beautiful on the inside and out. She had a lovely grin that brightened up the room. Most significantly, she had a lovely soul. She was involved in her community and volunteered extensively, not because she thought it would help her get into medical school, but because she really cared. I realized I was in love with her after teaching her for a year. I asked her out, but she said no. She said she loved me as well, but she is devout and prefers an arranged marriage in accordance with Islamic law. Despite the fact that I wasn't dating her, I knew she was my ideal lady, so I phoned my parents. My parents and her parents planned our marriage with the understanding that we would be engaged for 2 years until both she and I finished our respective degrees. We began dating as fiancés about this time. Where'd I know? Randy and I developed a bucket list of romantic things we wanted to undertake as a couple years ago. Amina discovered the list. When I described the scenario to Amina, she said she loved the list and wanted us to finish the activities with some changes. We hoped to finish the list before our wedding. Amina photographed and scrapbooked all of our experiences. As we finished them, climbing a mountain, salsa dancing, the Great Barrier Reef, Rome/Paris, and so on. Amina posted our scrapbook on Facebook a few months before our wedding date. Randy gained access to the scrapbook in some way. She wrote a harsh note to Amina, accusing her of stealing her concept. Amina responded with a visceral letter about how dreadful Randy is, how terrible it must be to lose someone like me, and how the scrapbook was our concept before we were married. Hearing I was getting married had to have driven Randy over the over, and she vowed to kill herself. She had to spend 3 weeks in a mental health facility. In our Indian community, it was a huge scandal. This happened 3 years ago. Revenge 3? I've been married to Amina for 2 years and everything has gone swimmingly. She is currently at medical school, and I am a junior physician. We're now trying for a child. My father phoned me last Sunday. My father's acquaintance from another city was attempting to arrange a marriage for his son. Randy's parents had approached him with an offer. My father's buddy contacted to inquire about Randy before introducing her to his son. My father sent my first email to this man, who then phoned and informed him about Randy's adultery, pulling out of university, despair, and so on. Needless to say, he bolted for the hills and called off the scheduled marriage. He was grateful for my father's suggestion and promised to inform other Indians in his state about her past. That's all there is to it. In the end, I didn't even have to speak to Randy over the years to exact my vengeance. Karma served it all out on a silver platter. I have a lovely wife and a career I adore, while Randy has only despair and self-destruction. This was all because I wanted to lose weight before proposing to her. It's definitely not pro-revenge, but I still like it. And maybe some of you guys who have had bad luck with love may find some peace/joy by reading this. Just passing on the good karma.